So we've got something of a group, Kieran, you'll be pleased to know.
Hi.
This is Tracy, and this is my other colleague, Fiona.
There's nobody over there, is there?
No, well, Hannah sat there, so we just got...
Have a seat.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, good.
So I guess Kieran just wanted the opportunity to have a chat with a group.
Yeah.
So here we all are.
Sorry, what were your names again?
I'm Fee.
Fee, nice to meet you.
You too. And I'm Tracy.
Nice to meet you.
Our other colleague is stuck across town, but luckily Fiona's here, so...
Put in your hands for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same issue myself this morning, so it's a bit horrible, isn't it? Yeah, so obviously the reason I've asked for you guys to come in is just to see how we're responding groups, really. I've obviously started therapy due to sort of anxiety in myself and in groups, etc. It's just basically to see how we're responding, and if I make you guys uncomfortable or comfortable, etc. We had like a structure that we wanted to go by, so just spending a few minutes on like where I've come, where I've been, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, it's just sort of talking on past behaviours and thoughts. So where I'm at the moment, I feel like I'm in a good way to sort of reflect on how I used to behave. So in terms of when you sort of feel uncomfortable, you'd sort of put your head down and find a little safe place in the corner, etc. So sort of new techniques that I've learned is sort of staying neutral and looking around the room or looking up instead of down. I know it's like a simple sort of statement, but it has helped me in a way in terms of like the physical sort of techniques to feel comfortable in a situation. Sort of rationalising and normalising thoughts. So at first I felt sort of like no one was feeling how I felt. Felt like no one could sort of relate to it. And we went through this task where I sort of come up with a questionnaire on how people how in their head they are and not in the moment, so that they're not sort of reacting to people around them. At first it was like I was just sort of avoiding asking, and there was a lad at work and he said, "You look like you're thinking, what are you thinking about?" So I said, "Oh, I've got this thing I want to try," and he was the first person sort of I gave the questionnaire to. He was really thorough in his answers, and then it gave me the sort of encouragement to ask others. I think I got like 11 in total, including sort of family, and then people I work with, and then even people from the past I've not really spoke to in a while. They were sort of open-minded to it. So what that then done, it then sort of reduced the frequency of thinking that you're the only person in your head, you're the only person with struggles, etc. That's definitely helped. In terms of what do you put? Yeah.
We had this thing as well, didn't we, about extroverts versus introverts?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so the questionnaire, etc., it was not just for people. So I consider myself an introvert. I had a talk with my brother's girlfriend, and we're calling ourselves introverted extroverts, which basically means that like an introvert's got so much talent, but they're so sort of resistant to getting it out that other people don't see it. Whereas extroverts maybe not have as much talent as an introverted person, but they're so open to their ideas that everyone sees it. But the questionnaire was I asked a lot of the people are actually extroverts, and then you think that those confident people don't have social anxiety whatsoever, or fears and anxieties, because they're so confident what they do, if you know what I mean. They definitely do. So I think as an introverted person you can be a little bit envious of that self-confidence, but then when you learn that they have just as many struggles as you, it can again reduce the sort of frequencies and the anxiety in itself. That was just like a little exercise with mine, yeah. So it definitely helped me, because you can in your sort of anxiety you can feel not confident, and once you learn that even confident people have it, it's just normal. You can sort of normalise it, rationalise it, and that's what we've learned, what I can take forward from this whole situation.
Did it surprise you that people that came across confident actually behind that might have had struggles? Was that something that you thought about at the beginning?
Definitely surprised me.
Yeah.
Sort of you can look at a person and then think that they would never have ever like come across what you felt, because they're just so confident and so outgoing. But yeah, there's a guy called Curtis. He's like the big showman in our team, and he had a really deep conversation with me about times when he would go home and he'd go straight to his room, wouldn't interact with his family, and that's something that I've experienced. So then it helps you think that you can get to where you want to be in your character and in your confidence, because it surprised me at first that he could relate.
Yeah.
But obviously it was my openness that instigated that situation. Obviously I felt the fear first, felt the shame, felt like, listen, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to talk to people about what I'm feeling and try and get their opinion on it, because you sort of expose it.
Yeah.
But then like once one person is open to it and you see that they're not really judging you, and they can relate, it can then give you the courage to go forward with it. That's what happened, like I say, and that's what's continuing to happen. Not sort of like I'm pushing it on people, but I feel like...
Go on, sorry. I was going to say, you had that thing, didn't you, that you didn't want to... You wanted to be open about it and not feel shame about it, but you're not trying to be somebody who you're not, and you don't need to be everyone's friend in a way. So it was about that balance, wasn't it? So that you're able to talk about it when you want to, but that you don't have to overshare. Because I think you talked about someone from your team who you felt maybe overshares like stuff about their mental health. Yeah.
Just not being very kind to themselves in how they label it, and like I think through this process, like I've been able to share techniques and share ideas on how to deal with it, etc.
With that person?
Yeah, with that particular person. And so I think obviously when we initially started, I probably would never have a conversation with that person, because I was just too putting my head down and not interacting with people and not just not being present really. So it's a good feeling to learn how to overcome these issues, and then you sort of notice it more in other people. So that's where I'm at the moment. So I feel like I'm able to reflect. I'm not going to lie and say that I'm not uncomfortable in this moment, but I'm talking and.
Ask yourself a question, who wouldn't be? I know if you put me in your shoes, invited two people who I've never met before into a room and then asked me to talk about what makes me anxious and how I deal with it, I think I'd feel quite uncomfortable. So, you know, like we were saying, be kind to yourself, that it's normal to feel anxious sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
But you can overcome it, and you are doing so.
Yeah, that was one of my techniques. There's a lot, I think it's Richard Branson or someone, it sort of says, feel the fear but do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of that this year.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way of thinking about it, actually, isn't it? Because often it's the fear that we want to avoid because it's so scary. So just have something short in your mind just helps you to maybe, but you ask kind of what I was like about coming in. I think you might have been a little bit thinking, oh my goodness. So yeah, I think it just shows you that maybe we all can have a little bit of anxiety sits behind things.
I think I said when it was going to be filmed, and I just said, oh, you just come in to, you know, I think Tracy felt quite anxious about that and what to expect. I suppose it can be about the uncertainty. How's this going to be? Is it going to make me really uncomfortable? So everyone's got to bring in their own kind of stuff to the table, aren't they, really?
I just remembered it's been filmed. Has it been filmed? Oh, no, no, mine's on.
Yeah, it's not going on telly or anything, it's more like...
No, yeah, I remember you did say, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that's already put my anxiety up a little bit now, because you just think who's going to be seeing this?
It could be like a blueprint for, that's what I'm trying to create, like a blueprint for people to overcome their issues. So one thing I did as well was I started to video myself.
Yeah.
Because with social anxiety, you're just worrying about what other people think about you, and then you don't really see what they see.
Yeah.
So my technique was to start a video of myself, start talking in front of the screen to see how I look.
Yeah.
And then if you see how you look, you see what the people see. And that definitely helped, because obviously the first video I ever did, I just couldn't get my words out, if you know what I mean. I just felt really like, what's this all about? Felt awkward. And some of the content wasn't very helpful. It was more like me getting stuff out. But then I started putting content into the video, to like sharing ideas, etc. And that's something that, you know, I would share with people as well. And maybe this is like the first video of taking it to the next level. So, you know, if you're able to, you know, talk in groups about you and your anxieties, and you know, I think that's taking it to another level as well. Ultimately, it's for me to become like a warmer person. So like the video experiment as well is with anxiety, you can think that because you're anxious, you make people feel uncomfortable and you come across as cold. So I'm just trying to change that behaviour, change that completely.